Aloha and welcome back. I'm Panther, and this is Final Fantasy Renaissance Classic Run. Whoa. I didn't want to attack him, but fine. Ooh, someone crit. I can't really run from fights because being outnumbered makes it harder to run from a fight, so... Ba-ba-ba. Excuse me. I mean, doing it that way is good for money. $63 for a creep and an ogre is $195. The Kisoa $60. So no, actually the pirates aren't great for experience, and that's what I'm looking at this point. So I don't have to worry about that. God, I wish I could counterattack. That's one of the things that made playing as Ulu by himself kind of nice. That is a random chance of counterattacking. That said, because of the awesome armor that Shine can equip, he's just gonna have better armor than Ulu because the ribbon's a thing. Yeah, one creep is actually worth more experience than any of the pirates, so... And yeah, I will probably turn up the game speed when I'm buying potions and the like. At least for now, because I think it's like 7,000 to get 999, or not 900, 99 potions. And in case you guys haven't seen it today, which means I'll be posting it tomorrow, my sister has a ROM hack game that is basically a complete overhaul of Final Fantasy VI. It's gonna be a weird one because it's a crossover. Yeah, like those of you who are in the know are probably like, oh no. And it's like, yep. Oh no. I'm not gonna say any more about it because it might become divisive. I don't know. The landscape of the world right now is so hostile that me saying that I'm actually a guy can piss people off. So yeah, I'm not gonna even come close to trying to guess what the environment is gonna be when I post up the thing. But my sister wanted me to play it, and I think it's a pretty cool idea for a game. And Final Fantasy VI, actual Final Fantasy VI, not weirdities, is like almost unanimously the most favored Final Fantasy game. And I get why. Like, a lot of people got introduced to the Final Fantasy series thanks to Final Fantasy VII. I got introduced to the Final Fantasy series with Final Fantasy, the very first Final Fantasy. But I never got a Super Nintendo, so the next Final Fantasy I ever really heard of was Final Fantasy VII. Which is not technically correct, but it's also technically correct, because thanks to my half-brother, I got introduced to Final Fantasy Adventures. Man, that's not a Final Fantasy. Like, it really isn't. Like, you could pick your race. That was cool. That was fine. Then comes the downside of, even though you get to pick your race, which is actually just basically your class, the equipment you have degrades. It has so much usage, and then it's like, can developers stop doing that? I am honestly sick and tired of it. I don't want my gear to be something that I have to manage in a game where, in order to repair things or get them back, you have to go buy them. If it's a game that there's crafting involved and you independently of a shop can like repair your things and stuff like that, it's more acceptable. I still don't like it though, because everything's kind of balanced around this idea that your shit's not permanent. I know it's not. I am alive these day and ages. I'm aware that I own nothing. You don't have to make the fucking game try to get me to get used to that idea. So yeah, it's one of the biggest reasons why I don't like Breath of the Wild. But it's why I loved Phoenix Rising. So pissed off that Ubisoft has gone down this stupid road of its own, because Phoenix Rising was a great game. Was it perfect? No, but it was honestly good. It's like, basically, hey, imagine as close to lore accurate is probably the better terminology, Grecian mythology. Or was it Roman? One of the two. I get the Grecian and Roman mixed up because one does Zeus, the other one does Jupiter. And I don't remember which one's the first one. But it doesn't matter. Like, the bottom line is it doesn't matter. So, you've got the thing of, right now, you've got this lore accurate Grecian mythology. where you're not 100% sure if you're the good guy or not, because a lot of it is feeling like you really aren't. And you combine that with the fact that you have effectively Call of the Wild movement and combat with no degrading weaponry. Like, you have stamina for skills and godlike powers, and that was awesome. And then the first DLC comes about where it's like, oh yeah, cool. You go into Olympus. No, wait, I think the first DLC was... Yeah, no, it was going into Olympus. And then the second DLC was Chinese mythology. And that one was much smaller scope, but also had brand new abilities. And then, like, the next one, you weren't even playing as the main character you had made directly. Like, it was progressing the story, and the DLC was a brand new game type. It was like, yes, this is what I want from you, Ubisoft, not fucking copy-paste bullshit. But what are we getting? Nope. You're getting copy-paste bullshit, except now it's copy-paste bullshit that's deliberately pissing off people. For reasons? I don't know. Like, Ubisoft, in my eyes, has never been as vocal as it is currently. And I find that so strange. It's like one of the reasons why Ubisoft kind of flew under the radar for a lot of people, despite how bad some of their shit was, is, quite frankly, they never, like, screamed at people. They just kind of did things, and if it didn't work, and they moved on. But that is also one of the reasons why Phoenix Rising fell apart. Because they did not fucking advertise it. Yay! Holy shit. This is gonna be weird. But yeah, so, I know I said I'd try to stop with that whole talking stuff. It's just... This was my safe space, goddammit. Why did assholes have to fucking get involved and pull their bullshit from places that I wasn't paying attention to in the first place? Like, video games were, like, safe haven. Nope, you can't have that. You can't be safe, ever. You can't enjoy anything, you can't own anything, and then what do? They get pissed off because we're not happy with that. What the fuck did you expect? Can't carry anymore. Yeah, that frustration is an ever-looming problem. I'm just gonna go until I don't have funds. Because I still need to level up. So any funds I get from here in are just going to be devoted to whatever comes next. I don't think I'm going to need any other swords outside of stuff I'm going to find in dungeons. I miss yelling at people. In-game. In-game. Okay, that all said, I don't mean to drag up stuff like that. Yeah, this episode is basically me grinding and getting up to level 15, yammering the hell away. So, you know, if you all are comfortable with that, sit in. It's probably going to be an hour or so before I get to level 15. I'm not doing the C stuff because of the big eye has a possibility of popping up, and I don't like that. Like, dealing with poison is, like, whatever. Once I get him, like, there's no way I can beat this game just Shine by himself without the class change. That's not happening. I'm not gonna pretend like that's a possibility. Because if he doesn't level up, or if he doesn't, like, class change, then one of the bigger problems I'm gonna face is the fact that he can't use a lot of the better armors and weapons, which is not gonna be great. There we go. Holy shit. I guess his magic defense is getting up high enough that he's becoming more and more resistant to status effects. After all, behind the monk, the fighter has the Dark Knight and the Lancer, I think, have the best magical defense. Which I still think is kind of weird. You would think the classes that have magic are better at fighting against magic. So I'm looking at 5,000 experience. Would so love to have the healing helmet actually give regeneration. Though, if I remember correctly, I'm going to be getting the ribbon before then? No, my memory's all screwed up because of the fact that I'm used to Bubble being a part of the party and going out of sequence. For those of you who are stuck around this long, thank you very much. I mean, again, I don't monetize any of this shit. That's one of the reasons why I don't care as much about what I say or what comes up. If it wasn't for Brutal Legend having music that is absolutely, like, hammer flagged, I would have continued on with that. And what I mean by hammer flagged is literally like, hey, yeah, you can't publish this video at all while that music is a part of it. I'm sorry? But that's the music industry currently. Some oddly influential people are pushing back on that industry, and it's taking hold in a lot of both positive and negative regards. But yeah, so that's one of the reasons why that game I can't continue with. I want to, I so want to, but the only way I'd be able to do it is turn off all the music. One of the things I wanted this channel to be is, hey, you guys enjoy going to other people's videos, but you kind of hate that it's all, like, quiet and you don't get to hear anything. I don't care. I don't monetize. So, what the fuck will I care about that? Like, in all honesty, even though I have zero income, the prospect of setting up, like, a Patreon or something like that Why? Like, I get it, I need money, but that doesn't mean I get to basically steal it from you guys. I don't edit my videos. The amount of effort I put into these videos is playing them and being honest. Which I think should be something everybody strives to do. Be honest. The world wants to punish you for being honest, but that doesn't mean you should let it. It also doesn't mean the world gets to dictate what you should do with your life just because some bad apples are going to hurt you for doing it. There are systems in place that are not what it used to be. Like, I'm not gonna pretend like, oh yeah, those people back in the 50s should have been honest about no. Oh no, if you were in the wrong spot of the world in the 50s, or the 70s even. I mean, the 70s started the good movements, and some bad movements, a lot of bad movements actually, but you get what I mean. They started movements because the law allowed them to do so with not as much negative recourse as they would be getting otherwise. That said, I can't pretend that nowadays is perfect, because it is fucking not. But also, no time in history has been perfect. Every time in history has had something wrong with it. I don't know. Maybe this is me just dipping down into my irritations that I've had. But I'm kind of sick of people calling what we're living in the darkest timeline. Like, somehow the stuff going on is the darkest timeline when it's fucking not. Like, it is so not. Right now, I'm rambling. I need to get this going. But, and there's a lot of people who like to preference the concept of, well, this is the darkest livable time frame. It's like, it's still not. Like, there are plenty of livable time frames that would be much darker. It's not a great timeline. It's definitely not. But it's not the worst. It's not the best. It's just what it is. Like, so many companies are being really stupid about things. And I'll tell you right now, in the darkest timeline, they wouldn't be stupid. You wouldn't know that they're doing stuff to you. You would just have to accept it. That's the darkest livable time frame. Where the corporations, one, they have no way to be stopped. Like, Demolition Man is closer to the darkest timeline. If you've seen that one, it seems ridiculous at first. Then you realize it really isn't. So yeah, man, like, it is wild, but also kind of frustrating to constantly hear. Like, I am not a optimistic individual. But I enjoy the concept of being an optimistic pessimist, where I expect the worst to happen, and when it doesn't, I'm pleasantly surprised. If it does, I at least have the satisfaction of knowing I was right. It's an oxymoron, which, back when I was growing up, wave my cane at you guys and everything like that, which I do have a walking cane, but that was actually so I could close my door from my chair. Not so I could walk around better. I walk just fine. I could actually walk a good 15 or so miles before my legs even start feeling worn at all. And I won't feel repercussions for it until I've walked like 20 miles. After I've walked about like 20 miles, even while walking, I'll start to feel it. And dear God, when I stop, ooh, it is painful. So yeah, like, I've got a walking cane so that I can easily open and close the door. Why not use a blah 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 stick or something? Because a walking cane is designed to be extended and shrunk. And because it's a walking cane, if I do actually need it someday, like let's say I hurt my knee or something like that, hey, would you look at that? I already have one. And because I've gotten used to it, I know how to use it. And I broke my toe not recently, like a year ago now. It's dumbest way possible. I swear, like the amount of times I've broken my bones has been exclusive to my right foot. Yay, level 14, hell yeah. Man, Shine gets, like, big level ups a lot. Also, he could go a lot longer than any other of the classes that I've been playing as. Can you? Thank you. Anyway, yeah, so... yeah, job hunting's been a bitch. Found out recently that I'm pretty happy that I haven't, like, done anything too extensively on LinkedIn, or Indeed, because it turns out that those places are absolute garbage. I'm probably being facetious, but man, it is pretty terrible to find out stuff about those sites. So I've been applying to places, like, directly. Or as directly as I can. I still get no hits, but at least I know that the recruiters who are looking over my thing are looking over my thing in their database, not in a catch-all where they probably set up a filter that's like, hey, if it doesn't include these words, don't even show me it. Which is 100% something that can happen. And other news. I've been getting into animation. I mean, if you've been watching this long, you're aware that I've been talking off and on about that, working on Blender and all that stuff. But man, doing case studies on animation qualities is just wild stuff. One particular individual said that one of the best things you can do is look at some of the greats and some of the worst animations available. And even though I'm using 3D animation as my platform, that doesn't mean that I shouldn't look at those. Because the reality is, the same principles apply. Like, I'm not sure if you guys are aware. So, there's a pretty big misconception that even my sister has had for when it comes down to a 3D model versus a drawn character. So, one of the first things I like to dispel is that a 3D model can be squashed and stretched. Like, it can do the cartoony things, it is 100% possible. There is more work involved. But it is still very distinctly possible. Another thing that comes into play is a lot of people seem to think that because certain elements of the 3D animation pipeline isn't as much work, that it's less expensive. Even my nose knows that's bullshit. So here's the thing. When you're talking about drawn animation, there are certain shortcuts these days you can do. Excuse me. It's why you see stuff like, I don't know. Hell, pick any child's show to upper teen. You look at that and you might think, oh, well, that's drawn really well. And it's like, yeah, it is. Mostly. There are some still bad ones. But here's the thing. As much as they have to redraw 90% of those things for every single element, the coloring is something that they can kind of short sheet. And then there's backgrounds that they can kind of reuse and manipulate and stuff like that. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, I mean, when you look at 3D modeling, it's like this and that. It's like, here's the thing. For 3D modeling, all right, let's look at the two pipelines. The two pipelines, let's start with drawing, because I've already been talking about that. When it comes down to drawing an animation, let's just take a scene. Let's not even look at a full episode, let's look at a scene. It starts off, and I'll save this from being said again. Both 3D animation and 2D animation start the same. With a... what's the word for it? A board. Like a board of pictures that... a storyboard. That's the word. They all start with a storyboard. Every single animation in existence has a storyboard. Every single one. Not all of them have scripts, but generally speaking, you should have a script for your show. It helps keep the people in line. If you're doing something by yourself, storyboard is fine. Because you are the only person working on stuff. I've run into that realization. But, so both 3D and 2D start with that. Then we move on to the next portion. Let's say every element of the character stuff is just being worked on. Like, this is the first episode, this is the first scene. So one of the first things that was coming about is character concepts. That's pretty much the same past both, but they can be on the spot made too. Like, that's a distinct possibility. Cool, awesome. All right, well, let's move on to the next part. Say the character concept is already made, and now you're drawing the character for the first time. Now, there are two ways to draw characters: on and off model. On model is basically what Disney was notorious and regarded for the majority of their time. On model is effectively, they have, here's this sheet for these characters. They stay looking like this for 90% of the time. It's also why when you see cartoonish bit takes and stuff like that from them, it feels all the more extreme because it's not normal. It's off model. Off model is, as stated, there's no coherent model, and you're just drawing roughly what's around there. Generally speaking, most animations who are long form, aka multiple episodes, that sort of thing, don't like doing that because it makes it really, really difficult to keep things consistent. And when you're talking about a show that's supposed to be consistent, yeah, anime also falls into this category. On and off model are both things that they need to constantly think about, but they often go off model, but they go off model to a separate on model. It's weird, but, you know, that's fine. Then, after you've picked the character and you're working on the scene, you're drawing up the background and you're drawing up all these other elements involved. You are doing all this on possibly a computer, but you could also do it like by hand. Like the most animation up until like the 90s were done on celluloid, but whatever, plastic. Like they were drawing on plastic, and then they would take pictures of it and they would move it. And they had a very thanks to Disney. That Disney, not current Disney. Current Disney is not the same. But thanks to them, there was a pretty standardized way of doing it that was good. Like, it wasn't oppressive standardization. It was, this will get you the most consistent stuff, and animation that is consistent is often good. Now, that said, we've also got the factor of, there we go, wait, what was that? What? Auto retarget. Yeah, no, we want that on. So, yeah, one particular aspect to know is after you've done the drawing portion for hand-drawn animation, you then have the, I don't really have a reason to get the house. Yeah. So after you've done the drawing portion, then comes the coloring portion. Now, the coloring portion used to take a lot longer, but as of late with innovation with computers and whatnot, is become very simple to do, and something that is often not very time consuming is what I want to say. And after you've done that, you might have to redo a scene or two, because things didn't line up properly or the colors didn't mix properly. Most of the time, colors are flat. They're made that way to make it cheaper, because every type of shading, you had to mix those colors. Nowadays, because of computers, the shading still takes extra time, but it's nowhere near as expensive as it used to be. Cool. You've done that. You've done all the principles of animation. You know those scenes. You've referenced the storyboard for that scene. You've done all that. Drawing, done. Cool. If you work on another scene, you can't. The majority of what you can and can't reuse there is drastic. Like, most of what you drew, you can't reuse. That's why on-model drawing is kind of a pain, because you have to look at references all the time. Now, this is the crux of where... Thank you. Where most of the arguments that 3D drawing or 3D animation is cheaper than 2D animation. Because all that I have said, you have to do every single time you are working on animation. Here's the pipeline for 3D animation. So, for them, they have a step that is not normal, but certain 2D animations do this step. And this step is called rigging. Rigging is referencing the old naval ships, where they would have portions of the ship connected via ropes. And effectively, what they would be doing is they would be pulling on those ropes to have different things move. So, like pulling the mast rope makes the mast move. So yeah, it's like, oh, okay, cool. It makes sense. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. In rigging or cartoons, it's pretty simple because it's all flat. It's all 2D. Sometimes it's 3D-ish, but for the most part, the rigging in that regard is like making sure that the eyes move a specific way. And in that regard, it starts becoming a lot cheaper to be a 2D animator, because rigging a 2D object is so much easier than the 3D one. Now, mind you, it won't deform properly, and sometimes you'll get really weird things. An example of that, Rappa the Rappa. You look at that, that is a 2D object being 3D rigged, and it does not look right. Now, that all said, so rigging takes place after the model is made. Now, the reason why I say that's not a step that's separate from, like, drawing is because drawing still has the character concepts and drawing them the first time. Effectively, that is what modeling is. You're drawing that character for the first time. Why is this not different than 2D animation? Because you have to put a great deal of effort into that first drawing. For the 2D drawing, this is generally the reference sheet. Like, this is how faces are supposed to work in these circumstances. That sort of thing. Now, the positive to making a model is it's really easy to stay on model. The downside is that, let's be perfectly honest, you are stuck with that model. So there's nothing you can do about it. That's it. You are stuck with that. And, man, it is... So the rigging will allow you to manipulate the model. It will like rigging the model will allow you to manipulate the model more easily, and allow it to have a semi-high density of polygons and vertices. You don't have to worry about what a polygon and a vertex is. Believe me, it matters, but it doesn't matter for this discussion. Awesome. So, what matters for this discussion is the rigging process, depending on what you're trying to do with the model. If your model is only a background character who basically moves and may not even have a facial expression, that's easy. That'll take you like an hour at most. At most. And that's if you have no tools to help you make the rig. And I'm talking from Blender, just so you're aware. I have to wait and hope. Oh! Hell yeah! That felt good. But yeah, in the rigging process, you've got, a skeletal nature of the character you want. And this happens to be for every element that they have to interact with. Now, mind you, for simpler things like a coffee mug, you only need like a bone, and that's it. And that's for hell, technically, you can get away with doing something what's called an empty, which isn't even a bone, and you can just do parenting stuff. But oh my god, the constraints and So, rigging is a large section of complication. This is not going to change ever. But it also makes some very interesting possibilities happen. Fuck. Run? Damn it. I mean, he's wiggling out of it pretty... Come on. I mean, I've got tons of hit points. I need to get the run off. Damn it. Anyway, I'll go until I die at this point, because fuck it. So, the rigging is the first process. And when it comes down to rigging, it is... Woo! Alright, hell yeah. It is a pain. There are add-ons in Blender that makes it easier, but the amount of stuff you need to know, I'll tell you right now, 100% right now, no matter what way you're trying to go about it, you can't get around rigging. Let me preference what I mean. So, UV unwrapping is a portion of what I'm going to be talking about, and it is a pain in the ass. But there are programs out there currently that can help a great deal with that process. Hell yeah. And there are also programs that can allow you to just not worry about UV unwrapping, but those are expensive in a lot of different ways. Alright, rigging. So you can already tell why 3D animation is not cheaper than 2D animation. I haven't even gotten to the scene portion yet, and I'm already talking about a lot of different terminologies and things that need to happen. So, let's say you finally get the rig. More specifically, your rigger has made the rig for you as the animator to use. So that in and of itself comes into another element that becomes more tricky. Unlike 2D animation, there are multiple roles involved. And one of the first one is the rigger. After the rigger is done, and he or she hands you the finished model with the rig attached, your first job as the animator is play around with it. No, I'm serious. Don't jump into the animation yet. Play around with that rig. Make sure everything works as you want it to. If it doesn't, ask the rigger to fix it. Because it's really important that you as the animator are comfortable working with the rig. If not, yeah. Now, I'm not saying nitpick the shit out of the rig, and if it doesn't, like, have the proper color you want, send it back. No. What I'm saying is, like, hey, yeah, for this scene, I'm gonna have this character, like, pivoting on their foot. I would like to have a toe roll for this character. You don't have that on this. Can you do that? And it's sort of like working in the gaming industry, where you bounce back and forth with people who can make tools for you to do things. But man, it is like after the animator is used to the rig and everything like that, then they basically go through every single step exactly like they would if they were animating by themselves. Not even joking. It's exactly the same. They have to pose the character, which is different than drawing the character, but you're still going under the same mentalities. Here's where a lot of people start thinking that the cost of 3D animation is cheaper than 2D animation. Because when it comes down to 3D animation, The animator only has to worry about posing a character. They don't have to draw the character, they just have to pose it. Is what a lot of people seem to think. That is not the truth. It's kind of far from it. But it is something that a lot of people get really used to thinking as this possibility. You know what? So, yeah. Bottom line, people love to think that because the 3D animator doesn't draw the character, that they don't have to do as much as a drawing animator has to, which is wrong. It is so wrong. That is like saying that a stunt double doesn't do as much as an actor does, which is wrong. They do the same amount of things, but they have a different set of things that they need to do. Or a voice actor isn't the same as a normal actor. Yeah, they are. They just do different things because they have less things that they can show the audience on certain elements. So yeah, it's just the animation differences is very distinct, and as a result... Wait, I didn't... What? Could have swore I picked up 2 cabins. Oh, did I do that after saving? I'm an idiot. Alright, whatever. I'll have more money, but you know what? Screw it. Yeah, okay. So, yeah. Now the posing and stuff like that, here's another element that a lot of people don't understand about 3D animation that is distinctly different from 2D animation. 2D animation, moving that camera around, it's a pain. Why? Because you're having to draw every single angle of that character. Every single one. Why is that bad? Because you're having to draw every single angle. Like, the big problem with 2D rigging is the fact that at the end of the day, what ends up happening is you have that rig and that's it. That's why if you see a very poorly done 2D rig, it is so massively apparent. Now, that said, the camera can be moved around a lot for 3D animation. A lot of 3D animators that I have seen like to take advantage of this fact, and sometimes they fall into the trap that Hollywood likes to do. Hollywood likes to have their fight scenes have a massive amount of cuts, shaky cam out the ass, and like basically making it very difficult for you, the viewer, to actually discern what's going on. That's not cool, and in all honesty, it's something you should avoid trying to do as a 3D animator. Readability is always a thing, no matter what type of animation style you're looking at. Kind of holding my breath for a rub. There we go. Level 16. Awesome. But yeah, so you've got the element of having a camera that you can use, and you have to. You have to use that camera. There is no way around that. Don't try to make a way around it. I am not joking. That is actually something you need to pay attention to. As a 2D animator, you don't really, until you start trying to do really, really complicated stuff. Like, hands down, one of the most complicated 2D animations that I have seen comes from Tarzan. Of all fucking things, Tarzan. Because when he is going over the moss-covered trees, like he's a skater, in a 3D animation, you can kind of loop some of that stuff, this and that. As a 2D animator, you have to animate all of that. Every piece of it. Every piece. So, yeah. My rambling aside, I hope you all are better understanding of why 3D animation is not as cheap, or cheaper, I should specify, than 2D animation. However, there is one more element that people overlook constantly. And that element is the render. Alright, this is the final step of a 3D animation where the 2D animation doesn't have to worry about. 2D animation, after you've put all the frames together, you just send it off. You're done. That's it. However, with a 3D animation, after you as the animator are done with all their posing and all that stuff, you have to then render it. Rendering is the process that compiles not only the model moving that you did into the final state that it's going to be, but also adds the effects that you want on top of it in the case of Blender. However, one thing to note that is distinctly possible is that it is possible for the render to happen and then it go through another program. Like, one of the things that I've been learning to do is make a render and then send it through DaVinci Resolve. However, that gives mixed results because DaVinci and the type of stuff that I do in Blender is not great. They don't like to work with each other often, and it makes it a little difficult. Mind you, that's a me thing. I have to get used to it and all that stuff. So that said, where the drawn animation is now done and in the hands of the production staff to see if that's the end product they want, the render has to run. And I want to preference this. You think Pixar stuff looks awesome, this and that. Yeah, I'll tell you right now, it looks awesome for a reason. And that reason is, they have a render farm. They have basically a building that is just tons of computers with cooling units that all it does is render. That's all it does. That's all it's meant to do. Here's the part that I want to preference for you guys. Imagine an entire building that has computers that are always running hot. They're always running high end. The electrical cost for that alone is insane. Now, let's put this on preference. While the animation is faster to make via 3D animating versus 2D animating, it is not faster to do it 3D wise. For the last step, rendering, will take you a long time. How long? Let me put it like this. Toy Story 2. took 2 years to go through the rendering process. I may be misremembering that, but 2 years of the rendering process. Not making the animation, not putting the final touches on it, just the rendering process, where they would sit there and they, like, the total time of rendering. So what they would do to maximize their time is they would get a scene together, send it to the rendering farm, and then start working on their other scene on their computers, while the rendering farm worked on that other scene. You can see the problem here, right? All of that power being run 24/7 for effectively 2 years. That is utter insanity. And when you start realizing that, you really see why 3D animation is not cheaper than 2D animation. Why is so many people switching over to it? 2 reasons. The first reason is super stupid. And that is, people are pushing the idea that drawn animation is for children, and 3D animation, even if it is for a child, is more for adults. Not joking, there are people who believe that, and they are fucking stupid. Now, the second reason isn't dumb, but it's sleazy as shit. Alright, the second reason why so many animation productions are going over to 3D opposed to 2D, you don't have to hire as many people. So, here's the thing. When you're talking about a 2D animation, you have hundreds of animators working on it to make sure it comes out in time. And they all have to be on the same page, and they all have to be trained up, and you can't have just some schmo off the sidewalk work on this. That does not happen. It cannot happen. That said, you've got the problem of because it's 3D animation, the only people you have to pay is the rigger when they're rigging, and the animator when they're animating. The computers, you're gonna keep doing it regardless, so who the fuck cares? Yay, a point more absorbed. Yeah, I'm not even joking. I'm not even coming close to joking with you all. That's the reason. Like, the cost level of having animators versus having drawn animators is so drastic that it's stupid. Because one of the things that you have to do as a business, so fucking hate that term these days, is that you have to maximize costs. Well, paying for computers that are always going to be working the same level without having to pay for dental, health care, or paid time off, they will just work until they break, and then all you have to do is hire a repair guy or IT. Yeah, financially speaking, that's awesome. Here's the problem. It's dumb. Like, that is super fucking sleazy, but that is one of the reasons why. Because they can fire more of the staff, but still have the same product going out. Yeah, they work their riggers and animators harder, but the product's still the same. Like, look at how many Disney drawn animators are just out on the streets. Like, they're having to pick up work like all over the place, because making a drawn animation is not cheap. And the only reason why right now the drawn animation at all is, or the 3D animation at all is something you see so prevalent is because Blender's free. I'm not joking. Blender and Source Filmmaker are the two reasons why 3D animation has become on the rise for side projects. And I so loathe that Blender currently is not updating their grease pencil stuff. Grease pencil is how they do 2D things. Because, man, if they started working on that portion of it, they could actually contend on the 2D side as well as the 3D side. Blender is a Swiss Army knife. It is 100% a thing that you go, hey, I want to do this thing, and then you just find the thing in Blender to do that, and you're there. You're there. You're done. Ah, this was a problem, wasn't it? Yeah, this was a problem. I don't need the items there anyway. Let's go to Cornelia. Yeah, I told you it was going to be a long episode. I didn't anticipate running into talking about the stuff I've learned about animation, though. Yeah, so, you know, now you have the basic knowledge of why 2D animation is not more expensive. Now, you might be thinking, like, so how's it the same cost? For the very same reason that I talked about. You're paying a bunch of people who have lives and they need compensation for their time and effort. You cannot get a computer to do this sort of thing, despite how fucking hard businesses are trying to get computers to do those sorts of things. So utterly pissed off at the sheer idiocy involved in that sort of mentality. Like, we want to make something that people will buy, but we don't want to put forth effort into the thing that people will buy. And then suddenly they get pissed off, like, why aren't they buying this? Because you put no effort into it, you dumb shits. What the fuck did you think was gonna happen? People buy things that have quality to it. Silver Dagger, that's what it was. I could sell all that. I don't need to go to the Marsh Cave. Again, there's no reason. So yeah. Sleazy companies are everywhere, and the biggest problem with a sleazy company is they care more about the... Like, right now is probably the biggest problem time to be a company because of the stupid index system that has been developed. Where if shareholders don't like the number they see from that index thing, then they aren't going to fund your project. But it also makes shareholders infinitely more powerful, and as a result, they get to influence things that are being made. Which is dumb, because most shareholders don't even stick around to see if their choices had any impact. Yeah, it's really, really dumb. It's a system I hope is dying soon. I know it's not, and there's no way around that. I know it's not. I really wish it was. Yay, more absorb. Ooh. Alright, hold up. Hit 70, damage 40. Alright. Damage is less, hit is the same. Uh-huh. Nah, I'm good. if I remember correctly, silver armor is actually worse. So, absorb of 35, evade of -11. Absorb of 29, evade of +4. That's not worth it. Oh. Alright, yeah. And, yeah, so businesses start getting influenced by people who have no stake in anything that's going on. So they'll just be like, hey, yeah, do this thing. It'll make a lot of money. Oh, it didn't make a lot of money? Alright, I'm pulling out. And so they have no reason to put forth any effort into what they're asking. They have no reason to do any marketing. They have, like, all they'll lose is some money, not the entire business associated with it. So that I'll stop down that path, because that's depressing. I hope it's changing soon, because a lot of people have become very aware of how stupid, broken, and really, really not great that system is. But yeah, so for animation, I have been learning a lot of little tricks and things along those lines. Man, it has been pretty awesome to learn these things. I'm like genuinely excited to learn the next bit of information. But I've got ADHD or ADHD. Man, it's tiring to keep up with titles and shit like that, where they're constantly evolving, both good ways and bad ways. Just, you understand what I mean when I'm hyperactive, when I'm tired, and I have a problem paying attention. So yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, none of that's worth it. There's no item shop here. Steel. 45,000. 45,000. Holy shit. Alright, but yeah, so I hope you all have enjoyed me rambling about industries that you probably didn't know I was aware of. Oh, right, because it's got the dragon thing to it. I'll hold on to that, because I don't think there's a way to buy things back in this version. Let me know if I should get rid of that or keep it. I'm going to have to go back to Cornelia to... Wait, no, I've got some items to save, so I'll be fine. I will catch you all in the next episode. I hope you're not too mad at my rambling that had nothing to do with video games, or little to do with video games, because animation processes do transfer over to video games, but very little in comparison to making a show out of animation. Anyway, I will catch you all next time. Until then, have fun, be safe, and aloha.